All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the English Danny channel live stream. I'm Dr. Don, and I've got 4 segments for you today to help you better understand English. I have a segment on this day in history. I have a segment on news of the world. I have a segment on English slang terms, and I have a segment responding to your comments and questions. If you have any comments or questions that you want me to address in the 4th segment today, start posting them now, please. Your comments and questions help make this live stream interactive, and we love to hear from you. Everybody ready? Let's get started. All right. So let's get into the first segment. The first segment is this day in history, and we're going to use June 13. Because that's today where I am. June 13, 1966, the United States Supreme Court made a decision in a very famous case, Miranda versus Arizona. Miranda is the man's name, and Arizona is the state of Arizona in the U.S. This was a landmark decision in American criminal law. So in this decision, the court ruled that police were obligated to inform suspects of their rights before they could question them. Now, a landmark decision means a major event or a turning point. So this was a sort of not only a major decision, but a turning point decision. And that word I just said, obligated. Obligated means required by the law. You have to do it legally. And a suspect, so police have to inform suspects of their rights. Well, what's a suspect? A suspect is a person who is thought to be guilty of a crime. So if the police think you're guilty, you could be a suspect. Doesn't mean you're guilty. It just means they suspect you. And so someone who is suspected, that's the verb, is a suspect. That's the noun. All right, so as a result of this decision, the Miranda versus Illinois decision, many police agencies in the United States began the process of giving what they call Miranda warnings to suspects before they question them. And this process became called Mirandizing. And so they still, even today, we'll talk about Mirandizing a suspect. And it means to read a suspect his rights before you ask questions. And there's different ways that someone can be Mirandized, but most Americans are familiar with the basic ideas of Mirandizing through TV shows and movies, where you will often see a Miranda warning when the police arrest somebody. They'll give them the Miranda warning. And there's many different ways of doing it, but there's some common phrases. And one common phrase that a lot of Americans have heard before is, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, which means that anything that you say to the police officer could be evidence in a court trial. But part of the warning is to tell the suspect, you don't have to say anything. You can wait until you have a lawyer with you, and the lawyer will help you in your discussion with the police, prevent you from saying something that might get you in trouble when it shouldn't. So that's what Mirandizing is all about. All right, now I have a second segment on the news of the world, which today is the end of the G7 summit. The G7 summit completes today in the United Kingdom. So Sunday's the last day of this summit. It's being held this year in a beach resort in the United Kingdom. The leaders of 7 of the major economic powers in the world are meeting, along with some representatives from other economically significant countries. So the G7 summit includes the heads of state, the leaders of the nations of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, and the United States. And also there will be representatives from the European Union, India, South Korea, and Australia. Well, what's a summit? A summit is a meeting of the heads of the government of 2 or more nations. In this case, it's way more than 2. And a summit is normally that word means the highest peak of a mountain. The highest peak of a mountain is the summit, the top of it. But we also use that word to mean the meeting, to mean a diplomatic meeting, where the head of the government, the top of the government of different countries are meeting, or it's sometimes called heads of state. Because the leaders are meeting directly, a summit meeting usually involves very high-level discussions. And the agenda for this G7 summit included several items, such as international health issues related to the coronavirus pandemic, climate change issues, and issues of global trade. What's an agenda? Well, an agenda is a list of items to be discussed at a formal meeting. So many formal meetings have an agenda. So it could be in business or politics are two common areas where you can find an agenda at a formal meeting. Right. So what's our agenda for today? Our agenda for today is the 4 segments that I told you about earlier. Although this isn't really a formal meeting, I still have you could say, an agenda. I have 4 things that I'm talking about today. All right. Now let's take a look at our 3rd segment. And our 3rd segment is on slang terms. And I have some slang terms for things that we do with others. And our first is a set of 3 phrases. They all have a very similar meaning, so I put them together. I'm down, or I'm in, or I'm game. And we use these 3 phrases to express that we are able, willing, and interested in doing something. So, for example, if someone suggests, let's get dinner downtown tonight, you can answer, I'm down, or I'm in, or I'm game. And that's saying, yeah, you're able to do it. You're interested in doing it. You want to go along. So another example, so someone might ask you a question. We're going to see a movie later. What do you think? And you could say, oh, I'm in. That's a way of saying that, yeah, you want to see a movie too. And one more example. So someone could ask, how about going to the park today? And you could say, hey, I'm game. You also want to go to the park. Now, let's look at an expression that we use to indicate that you or a group of people will attend an event, will arrive at an event. And the phrase is show up somewhere. So you can say you will show up for an event in the future, and you can say that you showed up when you're talking about an event in the past. So, for example, you could say, we'll show up at your place around 7 tonight. That's about the future. Or you could say, I showed up on time for class today, meaning in the past. So earlier today, I showed up on time. And you could ask a question. When do you think you will show up? So you're asking when someone will arrive at something. When do you think you'll show up? And it just means to be there, to attend, to arrive. And our last word is one you can use to indicate that you or a group of people want to leave suddenly. And it's bail or have to bail. You can use this phrase or word in the present tense to indicate that you want to leave now. But you can also use it in the past tense to talk about something you did in the past. So there's a helping phrase, have to. You can use it, or you can just say the word bail. So let's look at some examples here. I don't like this movie. Let's bail. So you're saying, let's leave, let's get out. It's a more slang way of saying it. Let's leave, let's bail. Or you could say, I'm sorry, but we have to bail, meaning we have to go, we have to leave. Those are present tense, so something that's happening now. But here's some past tense examples. We bailed around 9 p.m. last night. So last night we left at around 9 o'clock. And another example. I was so tired last night, I had to bail. So I had to leave. So that's, again, talking about the past. All right, so those are our slang phrases. I'm game, I'm down, I'm in, show up, and bail or have to bail. All right, so those are all different phrases for different ways of talking about doing things with other people. All right, well, now let's take a look at some of your questions and comments. So let's see what the chat has to say for us today. We've got some greetings, first of all, from Lali Lali in France and Shuk Ali in Pakistan. And greetings from Hamid Faisal asking, where are you from? And how are you? A couple people saying, how are you? That's a very polite question to ask how someone is doing. So that's very good. And you could use just the letter R and the letter U to stand for the words are you. So that's what somebody did there. That's a little bit of a texting trick there. Daniel Carvajal, I think it's probably a H sound with the J there because he's greeting us from Mexico. Greeting to you as well. And Feroz is saying hi from Bangladesh. Very good. And where am I from? Somebody asked earlier. I am from the United States. Greetings from Madagascar. Great to hear you. And Ahmad Iswin and Amma Ishaq both say hello. Hello, good morning. So Daniel says it's 12 a.m. in my country. I think 12 a.m. probably Sunday morning. And it's late Sunday afternoon here, or mid-afternoon here. Let's see. Ahmad Iswin says hello from Indonesia. Great. And Katongale Suleiman says, good morning. Thanks so much for your lessons. I'm from South Africa. Can you please pronounce for me the word tax? Tax, and tax with an E on the end of it. I'm not sure. Maybe you meant to say taxed. So past tense, I was taxed at a high rate, but T-A-X is pronounced like the same as the word T-A-C-K-S, almost identical, tax. So a tax is a fee that you have to pay the government. So you will pay a tax. You mean night. Greetings from Egypt, from Fatma Ibrahim. Good to hear from you. And Thisal Kanchana Ranatunga says, I am learning English these days by following the videos uploaded in your channel. Well, that's great. I hope our videos continue to help you out now and in the future. Okay, very good. And some more people saying hello and good afternoon, or in some cases, good morning. Peter is saying, I want to learn, and is from Myanmar. Okay, good to hear you. Good to hear from you. Jamali and Aung are saying good afternoon. A hello from Dubai. Good to see someone here from Dubai. I think that's the first time I remember someone checking in from there. That's great. Namaste from Nepal. Same to you. Thank you so much. Glad to see you. All right, glad to see you as well. And then another person saying hello from Madagascar, and another person saying, thank you for sharing. Greetings from Indonesia. It's 8:13 a.m. in France, 3:13 p.m. here in South Korea. So 8:13 is pretty early in the morning. Wow. Glad that you got up early to listen to our live stream. That's fantastic. And then our friend from South Africa, Eric Wesh, is asking, what's our favorite food? Have you ever tried goat? Well, I think he might have some information because I have, in fact, tried goat. I had some last night, and I think it was called yumsogogi in Korean. Yumsogogi. Yum is a good word for that because yum, Y-U-M, also means delicious in English. And indeed, it was pretty delicious. So that wasn't the first time I've had that before, but I do enjoy it. And that was a pretty good meal last night. All right. Greetings from Algeria. Okay, good to hear from you. Algeria in the north of Africa. And then greetings from the Sudan, which is, I guess, middle or south of Africa. Fantastic. A lesson on the difference between to lie and to lay. Okay, so This is a classic one that my grandmother would often complain about. If people would make a mistake between telling somebody to lie down or to lay down. What is the difference between lie down or lay down? Or you can also say lay and lie. So there is some confusion here. Okay. And there are different reasons why there are confusions. One is that there are separate words, lie down and lay down, but lay is also the past tense of the verb lie. So not only is lay a different word, but it's also the same spelling, L-A-Y, and pronounced the same way, is also the past tense of that verb lie. So you can say, I lay down yesterday, because you're using the past here. But in general, you're going to want to say lie down, like I need to lie down later. And you would say lie and not lay, because lay is usually for something like a chicken laying an egg, not for a human laying down. That's a little different. Okay, so but that's where I think a lot of the confusion comes in, is that past tense. All right, so apparently we may have a video on this topic, actually. So let's take a look here at the screen. Go ahead and share it. Okay, yeah, all right. I forgot that we actually had that video. So that's from 2019, so that's a while ago. But teacher Sarah with the English Danny channel did have a nice lesson about lay and lie, and a lesson on the difference. So you can check out our YouTube channel to get a more in-depth discussion of that exact lesson. So take a look at that and you'll get even better answer. I'm not sure if she addresses that last past tense issue, but that's a good one. There is one little trick that I remember about when to use lay and when to use lie. And lay rhymes with place, or sounds similar to place. And so you lay an object down, you place an object. And you lie, sounds like recline. So you lie down. So you recline on something. So you lay an object down and you yourself lie down. That's a real short version of the lesson. But if you can check out Sarah's lesson, it'll give you a pretty in-depth version of all of that. Send some recoded previous videos. I'm eager to learn English from the deep roots. I'm from Pakistan. I think we are in the process. Okay, so that person, so Sajid was posting that on Facebook, and we are indeed posting some videos onto our Facebook page, into our Facebook feed that we've had on our YouTube channel before. So we are in the process of doing that, and we're also posting new videos there all the time. So we should be responding to that very request in the time coming. All right, let's take a look at some more examples. So here's assalamu alaikum from Egypt. In Egypt, we say sabah el khair, good morning. My pronunciation, I'm sure, is not that good, but I tried. Assalamu alaikum to you as well. Peace be with you. And I don't understand the difference between the verb end and the verb finalize. Okay. Well, okay, so end, let's end the meeting, is a more generally appropriate word for meaning that something has come to an end. There's not a better way to define it than that. But to finalize something does have a more specific meaning. And when you finalize something, it means that you have made a official or definitive version of something. So An example of when you would use finalize and not end would be, okay, let me give you this example. So you're in a business meeting and they're saying, well, okay, let's end the meeting here. You wouldn't say let's finalize the meeting here. You're just closing the meeting. But in the meeting, they might say, we need to finalize our plans for the next week. And that means to come to a definitive end about what our plans are for the next week. And in that case, you wouldn't say end. You would say finalize, because you're coming to a very agreed and official, definitive idea about what those plans are. So that's the difference between end and finalize. So end has some general ideas of just bringing something to an end, but finalize has that special sense of coming to an official and agreed upon or definitive ending. So another example of using finalize is I need to finalize the publishable version of my book. That means I'm not just going to end my writing on the book, but I'm coming up with the definitive version, the version I'm going to publish. So in that case, I would say finalize. My native language is English. So I was born in the US. And I speak my native language. My mother tongue is English. We're getting a few more people saying hi and hello. That's great. A lesson on run something by. I'd like to run something by you. So to run something by is a verbal phrase. I guess you could say that's kind of an idiom in English, an idiomatic expression, because you're not literally running something, like you're not running something by. What you're doing is you're testing it out with someone. You are trying it out to see if it's going to work, or to see if they like it, or to see if it's a good idea, or if they understand it. So you have, usually it's an idea or a plan, something you want to do, or something you want to make, or something you want to say. And so you would ask, let me run something by you. I'm going to try a new activity in class tomorrow. What do you think about this activity? And you would run it by them, like you would. So you tell them the activity, and then they'd say, oh yeah, that sounds good. Or I don't think that'll work for this reason. So that's what run something by means. It's an idiom meaning to try something out, to mention an idea, see if it'll work. All right. Okay, so I've got some more time for any questions and comments. So let me scroll through, see if we have any more popping up. So still people saying good morning. That's great. Always good to see. And all right, Lolly is thanking me for my quick impromptu lesson. Impromptu, if you don't know this word, IMPROMPTU, means something unplanned, off the cuff, without a script. We're going to have an impromptu meeting, or a sudden meeting without a specific plan to it, or an impromptu lesson. That means a lesson that I didn't have prepared. I just came up with it without a prompt, without something written, just off the top of my head. So there's a phrase that might be useful, or a word that might be useful to you. A difference between feedback and input, please. What is the difference between feedback and input? Well, one hint that you can get here is that back has the idea of return, right? Something coming back, whereas input has the idea of something going in. So that might clue you to what the main difference is there. So the main difference here is feedback is a response, is information that you're receiving. So, for example, let me ask the class what their opinion of that activity was. And they'll say, oh, these are our opinions. These are ideas. That information they're giving you is feedback. That's feedback for you. Now, input is information that is put into something. So if I take what they say and then I add it into a document of plans for improving my class, the stuff that I put in the document becomes input because I've put it into the document. Input also can be any information from somebody. Feedback is always going to be a response to something. So I need your feedback. There can be some overlap in the sense that some feedback can become input, if you see what I'm saying. Because if those students told me their opinions and I input that information into my process for making some changes. So feedback can become input, right? So there can be some overlap there, but that's the difference. The feedback is a response to something, and input is anything sort of put in, right? And not all input is feedback. So some input that you might have is a company is going to say, well, what do we know about this product? And there will be various, and they might consider various things. And the input into their ideas would be, how much does it cost? How long does it take to make? What are the materials required? How many hours does it take to do? All that would be input. It's not feedback because it's not anybody's response to anything, but it would all be input into the process of deciding, oh, okay, what are we going to do with this product? Are we going to make more? Okay, so there you go with feedback versus input. I hope that's a good answer there. Sir, there's an idiom. Nasir Malik says there's an idiom, the cat's out of the bag. Could you please make us understand the meaning? There's some confusion. Okay, so the cat's out of the bag is a phrase used, an idiomatic phrase used to mean that something that was hidden or secret or unknown has become known. And the idea is, okay, so there's a cat, a cat in a bag. But once the cat is out, it's not going back in. That's the idea of it. If you ever, if you have a cat, if you noticed that, like if you put a cat in a box or you put a cat somewhere, they'll often just get up and walk away. But if they put themselves there, they might stay there for a long time. But if you put a cat somewhere, they usually don't stay. They'll move around. They have their own attitude about where they want to be. And same thing with a bag. So a cat might crawl into a bag, but if you put them there or if they're in there, once they come out, that's usually enough. They don't like being trapped in a place. Cats are predators. They don't like being trapped somewhere. And if you're holding them in a bag, they'll try to get out. And once they're out, they're not going to try to get back in. So that's the idea of it. A cat is just a representative animal for the idea of a secret once out can't become a secret again. It can't be hidden again. Okay. So that's the idea of that. Let's see. Can you explain what is the meaning of regarding? What is the meaning of the word regarding? Okay, so regarding, the simple version means about, regarding. So something regarding something is it's about it or with respect to or concerning. It's kind of a more fancy way of saying about, to be honest. But it works. It's a preposition, so it works like other prepositions. It works like a preposition is a word like about, with, to, into, on. Regarding is a word of that kind. It's not a noun, and it's not a verb. It's not an adjective. It's a word that's describing a relationship between things. So I'll use it in a sentence. So someone might say, sir, I received your complaint regarding your online purchase. So maybe you try to purchase something online, you had a problem, and so you made a complaint about it. And so they could say your complaint about it, but regarding is with respect to or concerning or about, but also suggests that it's a little bit more official, because in this case, the company is dealing with a complaint. So they're going to use a more official sounding word for a more official problem. So that's what regarding is about. So yeah, regarding. So Nasir Malik gives me some thanks for that. You're great, sir, without any exaggeration. Okay, well, thank you very much for saying so. I really appreciate that. Concerning, yeah, so concerning, it's another, that's another word. That's a relation word. It means about, similar meaning to about or in connection with. So I was reading yesterday about a number of stories concerning how to improve your English. So concerning, that would be how you would use concerning there, similar to about, similar to regarding. But concerning also is an adjective, meaning causing concern, causing anxiety. So in this case, you would say, oh, this is very concerning, meaning it's very anxiety causing. It's very worrisome. So I found this complaint concerning, meaning it caused me anxiety. It caused me some stress. Okay. So that's what concerning is about. Let's see, a couple more thanks. Sydney Kamola from Tanzania is saying hello. Thank you very much. Ali Vavi says, hi, everybody. Hi to you as well. Sinfio says, thank you so much. Moksafila says, hi, my teacher. That's great. Saeed Badu, in consideration. Yes, in consideration. In consideration. Let me hold off on that one for a second, because I saw a slang term, hit it off. Okay, so let me do that one first. Hit it off. I'm not 100% sure about this. But I wonder if the origin of this is from baseball, because it sounds like it. Because in baseball, you have a bat and they're throwing a ball and you're trying to get a hit, hit the ball. And I think hit it off means to the meaning of that idiom is to be successful right away, to get along with someone right away, or to achieve some kind of success right away. And I wonder if that's a baseball origin. I'm not sure about that, but I think it might be, which would be interesting. In that case, the idea is getting a hit. It's something immediate. Hit it off right away is you're getting an immediate success. All right, so now let me go back to in consideration. In consideration, and usually you're going to want to say in consideration of. And this is a phrase meaning taking something into account or in return for something. So let me give you an example. In consideration of your other exams, I have made my exam very simple. And that means taking into account that you have other exams, I made my exam less difficult, less concerning for you. Okay, so that's a case of in consideration of. And another example is I received $100 in consideration of my services. So that means in return for my services, I got paid $100. So those are two main meanings of that phrase, in consideration. Explain the meaning of beat around the bush. So to beat around the bush, means to not address the main problem or not address the main topic, but to sort of waste time talking about other things, or to get close to the topic but not really address the topic. So you might someone might say to another person, don't beat around the bush. Tell me what you're really thinking. And that means don't waste my time. Don't talk about unrelated topics. Let's get really at the topic. And here the idea is, so I think this comes from hunting or something like that, maybe even bird hunting. So you'll drive a bird, what you want to catch, into a bush. Once they're driven in there, you get them. You just go and grab the target, right? You don't just keep beating around the bush. The target is already in there. You just need to get it. And so that's the idea, is when you're beating around the bush, you're just wasting time. You're sort of trying to drive in something that's already there. So why would you do that? Okay, so that's the idea of this phrase. And then give someone, usually it's give someone the benefit of the doubt. So sometimes people will say, I'll give you the a benefit of a doubt, but usually it's better said as the benefit of the doubt, meaning I don't know if you don't know something for certain. If I don't know something for certain, that means I have some doubt. Doubt means uncertainty. So I might say, well, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. That means I'm going to assume that maybe I'm going to assume something to your advantage. I'm going to give you a benefit. So a student might say, oh, no, teacher, I was there last week. Don't you remember? And then maybe I lost my student record for that week. I don't know for sure whether they were there or not. And so I would say, well, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I don't know for sure. So I will say, I'll take your word for it. I'll believe that you're honest, and I'll count you present for that day. Okay. Because there's some doubt. I don't know for sure. I'll give you the benefit, and I'll assume something to your advantage. So that's the idea there. Okay. May I ask you the meaning of a word that I really want to know? What is the meaning of retribution that I found in a sentence in a newspaper? Someone is seeking revenge and retribution. Okay. So retribution is a word. It's related to revenge, but retribution usually means some kind of repayment for a wrong, some kind of receiving of some kind of it is. I mean, it can mean vengeance, but retribution is another word for it is payback, right? So someone might say payback or retribution. Officially, it's a kind of punishment that's inflicted on someone for doing something wrong. So someone might say in a sentence, he was unwilling to say something bad about the teacher for fear of retribution, meaning they were afraid that the teacher would get vengeance on them, maybe give them a bad grade or something like that, or maybe embarrass them in class. So in that case, retribution, you can see it's related to or similar to vengeance or payback. What does it mean to appreciate? Okay, so to appreciate, this word has a couple of meanings. So to appreciate, the most common sense of it means to recognize the value of something, the worth of something. We want to be appreciated, meaning we want others to recognize our value and our worth. Okay. So it's common to say something like, oh, I appreciate your help, meaning I'm glad that you helped me and I recognize the value of that help. And I want to acknowledge that value. I appreciate it. Okay. So you can also use appreciate to mean that you understand something fully. Do you appreciate how serious this situation is? And in that case, it means, do you really realize how serious the situation is? Okay, so those are two main meanings of that word, appreciate. All right. Okay, we've got a couple more. Let's do these next ones. So, sir, please explain the meaning of the phrase, the elephant in the room. Okay, so an elephant is a huge animal, right? The largest or one of the largest land animals in the world. They're gigantic. So if you have an elephant in the room, it's hard to miss. And so what this phrase means is it means a big topic of discussion that for some reason people are avoiding mentioning. This phrase is a way of saying this is a topic that's so big in importance that nobody could possibly miss it. We all know that it's there, and you're just trying to emphasize, why are we avoiding talking about this? Let's talk about the elephant in the room. So that's the meaning of that phrase. And then next question: how do I write my name in English correctly? It's pronounced like so-ad. Okay, so so-ad. English people pronounce it in a wrong way. Okay, so when I see the OA combination, SOAD, there are many English words that have that vowel pattern, LOAD. Let me think of it, trying to think of another couple. TOAD, okay, and it's ode. That sound becomes ode. So toad, load, okay. And so when people see that OA cluster, they're tended to want to pronounce it that way. But I think if you had a double D at the end, so-ad, they would then be more likely to go, oh, ad, is it so-ad? You could also hyphenate it. You could write so-ADD, so and then a little dash, ADD, and people would be then much more likely to say, oh, is it so-ad? And then they would pronounce it correctly. And since it's your name, you're free to write it however you like. And if you want to write it in a way that English native speakers are more likely to pronounce it correctly, then SOADD or SO-ADD, both of those would work for me. I would be likely, when I saw it, to say so-ad. Okay, there you go. Let's see. I appreciate what you're doing. There's somebody using that word, appreciate. Thank you very much. Very good. Elephant in the room and beat around the bush. Are these idioms synonyms? They are not. They don't have the same meaning. I can see how they might be related, whereas if people are not talking about the elephant in the room, they are probably beating around the bush, right? So that's how they could be related. But elephant in the room is specifically about the topic or the issue that needs to be discussed, whereas beat around the bush is about the activity of not addressing that. It's about the activity of wasting time or the activity of talking about other things rather than the main thing. Okay, so that's the difference between those two there. Somebody, so Imin Ment is asking, jacked up on sugar. What's the, okay, so jacked up is going to have the sense of being messed up in some way. It can mean in a positive way, jacked up on Mountain Dew. In this case, okay, so the best way to describe it is, you know that feeling of having a rush of energy that you get when you have a lot of sugar? That feeling of being really stimulated and really excited, that's jacked up. So jacked up on sugar means really, really stimulated, really, really energized, specifically from sugar. Or jacked up on coffee, that would mean being really, really energized and stimulated from having coffee. So that's the idea, jacked up on sugar. I'm really, really energized, stimulated because I had too much sugar. And usually that feeling sort of crashes not long after that. All right, let's see. Okay, well, we've got a lot of lessons there, a lot of good questions. I really appreciate them, and I appreciate all of you. I think we're going to wrap up our live stream for today. Don't forget to check out Teacher Sarah's live stream on Tuesday, and check out more of our videos coming up on Facebook and on YouTube. I appreciate all of you. One last thing before I check out. One person wants to know what teeny tiny means. It's just a way of emphasizing that something is really, really small. It's not just small, it's teeny tiny. Teeny means small, tiny means small. When you put them together, super small, teeny tiny. Okay, so that was one teeny tiny question at the very end of the lesson. Thank you all.